All right. It's finally time to talk about it. It's time to finally sit down and truly contemplate the horrors, the horrific reality we may be facing. We really anticipated a major Nintendo Direct presentation going into February. Nintendo usually does them in February. February, June, September. June is the one that is most often like kind of the iffiest, but like February's usually pretty solid. So we were holding our breaths, and then we started getting non-direct stuff. We started getting trailers for upcoming games. There was a partner showcase, there was a treehouse, and now we've had an indie world, and as usual, you know, when Nintendo starts revealing stuff in things that are not a regular Nintendo Direct, it means they're probably not going to do one. They're instead leaning on all of this, this supplemental content and saving all the big stuff for the next main Direct. And if they didn't have one during this chunk of the year, I would have to assume that we were going to get one in June. They're not going to skip two, you know, like they're definitely not going to skip two, especially not when they were first, we're still in the first year of the Switch 2's life. But yeah, right now it is March. It is March the 5th at the time of this recording. So we officially did not get a Nintendo Direct in February. Maybe there's still time. They could like retroactively do it. Could they do that on like March 7th? They're like, here's a Nintendo Direct that was supposed to go out in February. Sorry, we forgot. It was unlisted on the YouTube and we scheduled it for the wrong day. So we're going to call this a February Direct that we release in March. So yeah, like right now, basically it's just like, well, like when they started releasing all this supplemental content, normally that means they're not going to do a Direct. But in this case, we're like, okay, well, maybe, just maybe, they have so much to announce. They got to do all of this other stuff separately to get it out of the way. Normally, that is not a conclusion that I would come to, but because we are still within the first 365 days of the release of the Nintendo Switch 2, there's this feeling that Nintendo must have a lot of stuff to announce. And that's really the issue here. That's why our held breaths are extra hold-y right now. It's not just because we love Nintendo Directs. You know, we're used to missing them. We're used to Februaries or Junes coming and going and us being like, ah, shucks, I guess we gotta wait for the next one. We're used to that. But this situation right here feels a little bit different. There is this feeling that the schedule is a little bit sparse right now. Which, again, is not such a bad thing on its own. You know, there are ebbs and flows, highs and lows. Sometimes you get all these big AAA big hitters, and then sometimes you have slower periods where a good chunk of the year, it's just kind of like smaller to medium titles. Sure, but again, the Switch 2, it's still a baby. And its first year was good. There were a lot of notable titles in there. It's just that momentum doesn't seem to be carrying into 2026. If we had gotten some big, huge AAA game over the holidays, then it wouldn't feel so bad. You know, like, for example, if we had gotten a big 3D Mario during Christmas, then, like, we'd all still be eating that. We'd all still be full. But it's like, okay, well, like, nearly every year, Nintendo provides us with some really big holiday release. They didn't this time, which is particularly weird during the first year of a system's life when it's like really important to get that momentum going. So like it already would be weird. Now it's extra weird. And now it's the following year and it seems like we're not getting a major Nintendo Direct for February. So like that's really strange. That's really incredibly strange to me. I say to me. I don't think I'm the only one. I think everybody is kind of confused right now. Really kind of confused. Again, there's just not that much stuff coming. You know, we've got some, I mean, okay, we just got Pokopia. Like, I mean, that is great. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, yeah, like that is a big game. But like, I don't know, Pokemon, they're almost sort of like halfway doing their own thing. This is not me downplaying the importance of Pokopia. It's just like we're looking at Nintendo themselves and being like, yeah, but like you with the big directs and all the other IPs, like what's going on? And right now, it's like, yeah, we have some, like, Switch 1 games coming. It's like, okay, we got Tomodachi Life and Rhythm Heaven, and then it's like, we just got Mario Tennis, and it's Fire Emblem and Yoshi, and, you know, all great IPs, all great series, just, like, nothing really big. We're like, where's the next big thing to get us excited to buy a Switch 2 or to have the Switch 2 that we have? And I do certainly want to address, you know, there's two ways to look at this, where, like, on the one hand, I know that we just need to be patient. I know that, like, the games will come, and there is this thing right now it's just so ridiculous. I see it all over YouTube. You know, like, as always, I'm not gonna, like, point out any specific YouTubers or anything, but, like, there really is this attitude of, like, really super hyper entitled impatience, where, like, people are like, just, like, you see them, like, in the chat of, like, the Tomodachi Life Direct and stuff, where it's just like, there are people who genuinely feel like Nintendo is doomed because they're not playing a great game right now. You know what I mean? Because they have, like, a treehouse that's, like, a little bit boring, and it's like, if this is all they've got, then they're cooked. It's not all they've got. I don't know how to tell you this. It's not all they've got. It's a little bit, like, you gotta have at least a little bit of patience, you know? Just because things are slow right now, that doesn't mean they're always going to be slow. Like, I know there's this temptation to look at what's happening in the present or what has happened most recently, and for that to be your entire world, your entire mind. You cannot fathom a reality where it's different from that, and you're feeling impatient. So, like, yeah, like, I get it, but, like, they are gonna come. You know what I mean? Where, like, just really, like, calculate the likelihood that 7 years from now, we're at the end of the Switch 2 generation, and they're like, man, they just never had a Direct. They just never did. We just never got a Mario game. We never got a Zelda. We never got a Smash. It's just, like, it doesn't make sense. So just, like, yeah, like, I don't know. Just wait a little bit. It's gonna happen. The games are gonna come. The Directs are gonna come. This is not all Nintendo has. It's just, I'm sorry, it's just so silly. It's so absurdly silly. Like, looking at every little, like, yeah, and then the indie world, and then the partner, like, this is all they have. They're cooked. It's just, jeez. Anyway, but on the other hand, how do you sell systems? You sell systems through hype. You do. Through vibes. People purchase video game systems when they, not just when a system has a game that they want. You know, there are plenty of people who are like, I'm waiting for that game. Or I'm waiting for those games. I'm waiting for enough games. I'm waiting for, like, a good little pile, a good handful of those games that I really want to play before I bite. But there are plenty of people who are just waiting to like, wake up in the right mood one day. You know, where it's just like, I have purchased consoles before on, like, the promise of future games. I personally was one of the people who was pretty disappointed with the Wii U, but I bought the Wii U being like, well, I know they're gonna come. I know that the games are gonna come. And then a lot of those games either didn't come or ended up just not being the games that I was hoping that they would be. So, like, you know what I mean? Like sometimes you know they're gonna come eventually. You just need to, something's gotta push you. And vibes and hype. That's one of those things that get people to buy a system. And so right now, a lot of people are just waiting for a good excuse. And sales have been good. You know, like, I still see people trying to, like, spin this idea that, like, they're not doing well. Like, it's not true. The sales are still very good. For all we know, they will, you know, have slowed down after the holidays. I don't know. We'll see after the next, like, quarterly report. But yeah, Nintendo, like, doesn't super duper need to hurry. I'm just saying that it is true that if there's just this, like, kind of impression that we're all just kind of holding our breath, and there's a really, like, if you haven't bought a Switch 2 already, there isn't really quite a reason to yet, until maybe they announce something, then yeah, it is a little bit weird that Nintendo isn't just giving us something to chew on for a bit, you know, something to whet our appetites. I don't know, maybe they felt like Pokopia would be enough. Like, we'll be playing Pokopia long enough that they can just, you know, I don't know, hold on to stuff and wait until June. And then in June, they can give us stuff for the year. But as I've said a million times by now, February made the most sense because the February Direct, like, that gives them ample opportunity to actually release the games that they reveal. When you're talking big games, almost always you're gonna have a pretty good chunk of time between the reveal and the release. You have to have this whole, like, marketing cycle. There's the initial reveal, then there's the follow-up, and then maybe there's a treehouse or a dedicated Direct, or just more trailers. Like, you need time. The bigger the game, generally more time that you get. You do have some outliers, like last year, DK was revealed in April and came out in July, but that's a little bit different because that's the launch year, and we even saw that the launch year of the Switch 1. There were some, like, that whole cycle was kind of like upended. The rules were overwritten to, like, reveal some stuff and get it out within the first couple of months. But, like, for the most part, though, we need time. So if Nintendo is not going to announce any, like, brand new games until June, then those games releasing even, like, that holiday is, like, less likely than is comfortable. You know what I mean? Like, a June reveal for a holiday release, that's still a pretty tight turnaround. And that's the best case scenario. That's, like, the best case scenario. Now, of course, there are no rules. Like, they could just reveal and release anything in any way that they want. And I do, I'm not the only one. I like the idea that they are gonna try to break that habit of revealing games too early and we just have to wait years for them. So, like, I'm cool with that. Like, maybe that's what they're doing. Maybe they were gonna have a holiday game, but they just needed to delay it, and they were just like, let's just not even reveal it. Let's just wait. Let's just wait till we're, like, basically almost done. And then maybe they'll have a Direct in June, and they reveal it, release it November, December, and everything's good. But, like, I could see that happening for, like, one game. You know what I mean? Other stuff, if they were willing to have such a tight turnaround between the reveal and the release, it's probably gonna be more small stuff. It's gonna be more medium stuff, more kind of niche stuff, and just, like, that's just what's so weird about not having a Direct in February. February Direct sets the pace. It sets the mood for the whole entire year. They can give us any number of things. So I hate the idea that right now we're, like, still relatively early in 2026, but, like, 2026 is like, no, it's pretty much already set. Like, it's set. No, it's Yoshi and it's Fire Emblem and it's Pokopia, and then, like, the one thing that they reveal in June for the holiday. It's just like, I don't want to feel, like, I want to feel really hopeful about the coming year. I want to feel like there's just, like, oh, it's just ripe with potential. I don't want to see that the history of Nintendo's 2026 is, like, already basically written by February, Now, there is one thing to consider. I don't know how likely it is, but it's at least worth considering. Could it be that it's still true that they have a lot of stuff to reveal, a lot of stuff to announce, and it is true that they did just want to give, put a spotlight on some other stuff to kind of get it out of the way. They just had so many third-party games coming that they did a partner direct, to kind of wet our whistle while we waited for the full thing, and they did an indie world, and, okay, well, we had some games coming out soon, so we'll do a treehouse. We'll, just because, like, we want to get that information out there, especially for, like, Pokopia. And February was the 30th anniversary of Pokemon. So, like, Pokemon Day, revealing Gen 10. That was a really big deal. And it is possible that Nintendo just wanted to give them space. They wanted to dish out some of this other stuff, again, to just kind of wet our whistle for a bit, and then give Pokemon Day its own whole entire thing. They didn't want to clog up the news feed with all this Nintendo stuff. Give Pokemon a lot of space, because, like, it deserves it. And then they could do a big direct in March. It's completely possible. The only reason to doubt it is because there's just not much of a precedent for it. Early on in the Nintendo Direct days, they really could be, like, any format, any size, anytime. It was all sort of willy-nilly. But, since then, they have fallen into this comfortable groove, and there just isn't much of a precedent for March Directs. Like, last year, we got, like, there was a whole, like, dedicated Switch 1 Direct in March, but again, that was a launch year. That like, the rules go out the window during a launch year. But now, like, here we are. It's a traditional year. So because there isn't a precedent for just a regular General March Direct, it makes it seem less likely. But as always, there are no rules. They can do anything they want. For all we know, they wanted to rewrite the rulebook during the Switch 2 generation. You know, like, we may not even get a September Direct. They may do a November. I don't really know. It's possible that they would want to do one celebrating Mario Day or something. That would be next week. But at the same time, didn't they already announce some NSO games? So, like, they've already made Mario Day related announcements. So, like, that doesn't seem super likely. That's another thing. I feel like they probably just would have saved for a Direct. So, I don't know. It is technically possible. Or, if they don't do one in March, they could do one in April. Or May. And, you know, and if June is the one that they skip the most often, then I wouldn't actually be too opposed to one in March or April. Because that kind of brings the, you know, that, like, early spring, late winter Direct closer to the September Direct. So there's not as much of a gap in between if they decide to skip June. But I don't know. It is a weird situation. It is just weird. We really thought they would hit the ground running with the Switch 2, so I don't quite know what's happening. There have been games. There hasn't been the momentum I think we were expecting. We're just like, okay, like, where is it? Where's the big, just like the big crate, you know, like with the Switch 1. They had the Switch 1 presentation. They revealed all these games. And then that following June, another one that just revealed a million games, even some for like years out. So again, if they're trying to play the cards closer to the chest, you know, wait a little bit longer before revealing something, then fair enough. It's just, I don't know. How long can we hold our breaths? I don't know. And I really do have to just kind of like come to terms with the idea that we may just like not get a Direct for a while. And if we don't get a Direct for a while, we may just not get that many games this year. And I want to say that's like impossible. It's just how could Nintendo let that happen? But like, I don't know. Things happen. And again, like even if they had like one or two big games and just something happened, they needed to delay them or whatever, you know, running a big giant gaming corporation's a pretty complicated business. So yeah, I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see, I guess. But in the meantime, I hope you are well. I hope you're doing well, and I hope you're having a lovely day.